Chris, what did you say that dollar figure was on replacing and relining the suburban lines?
$500 million. If you did them all, you know, right now, right? That would be, of course, that cost is probably going to increase with time. One of the advantages, though, is that we won't see more water mains that are unlined, you know, in the future. We install line pipe from the get-go now.
How will you prioritize the replacement of those lines?
I'm going to get to that in a minute, if you'll be patient with me.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me talk about the agreements that are involved here. There's amendments to your water service agreement. These agreements, most of which were signed in the early 1980s, and they're the same agreement for every community. Okay, and the amendments will be the same for every community. There's an economic development agreement, and I think Ken alluded to many of the features of that agreement when he spoke. And then there's an asset transfer agreement, because the expectation is that you will transfer your local water mains to the Division of Water so that we can make the investment in it. In point of fact, our attorneys have told us, and our financial advisors and bondholders have told us, you can't put money into a system you don't own. So that's the primary reason we have to do that. And then, as I just promised, because my #1 question is, how do you select projects? Okay. So I think I already talked about the role of the Suburban Water Council of Governments. We did a rate study and a cost of service study here 2 years ago. We started it, and it eventually was approved by Cleveland City Council last year. And what the suburbs had asked us to do was to really look at cost of service and how did that compare to the rates we were charging. And we found, as I think they suspected, that cost of service was less than the rates in most cases, not universally, but in most cases. And so, as part of this process, we reduced the multiplier that it applies to the Cleveland rate, and that serves as the basis for the suburban rates. Going into this, if you lived in the low service or first high communities, the lower elevation communities closer to the lake, you paid 1.75 times the Cleveland rate. If you lived in the second highest elevations, you paid 2 times the Cleveland rate. And if you lived out in the far southeast suburbs, you paid 2.3 times the Cleveland rate. Those multipliers during the course of the rate period, which is 4 years, reduced 0.05 each year. So if you're paying 1.75, it goes down to 1.55. We had designed this to go down to 1.50, but Cleveland City Council, in its wisdom, felt that a 4-year rate period was probably the best for a number of reasons. So I envision in the future we'll get down to the next 500s, and depending on cost of service studies in the future, perhaps even a little bit lower. So second high is going from 2.0 down to 1.8. Third high is going from 2.3 down to 2.06. So we did apply reductions to the multipliers, and we're, I think, very responsive to what the Suburban Water Council had asked us to do. We did add a customer service charge, which has proved to be very popular among our constituents. Leave that one, I got a bridge to sell. Yes, sir.
That reduction is over the 4 years. So
yes.
So down 500.
500 each year. Yes. Now, the customer service charge generates about $13 million a year, at the tune of $7 per quarter for every account. Now, we needed that $13 million to run the water system, and if we had not collected the revenues through customer service charge, it would have been part of the rates. And that means that the suburbs would have paid disproportionately higher for our customer service functions. Okay. Or we get that? Okay. So when you criticize the customer service charge, think about shooting yourself in the foot if we would remove it. Okay. Because it does favor the suburbs. It was designed to favor the suburbs. And it also is used to pay for a direct service. Reading meters, preparing the bills, the postage and mailing of those, the collections of that, and then the audit functions and customer service and answering questions that go with that function. We did a very detailed study of the cost of that. Turned out to be $7.50 per quarter per account. Cleveland Council thought we should cut everybody a break, so we cut it back to $7. Suburban water main ownership and investment was the other thing the Suburban Council asked us to do, and that's the primary thing that's tied to the regional economic development agreements that I'll talk about from here on.